Today we're in section 7.3, percents and decimals. We're on page 340 in our books. All right, so in example 1, before we get there, yes, in example 1, we are going to take these decimal values, 62 hundredths, 1, and 2 3/10, and we're going to convert these to percentages. What we're essentially doing here is multiplying by 100, or expanding this number by 100. When I multiply a number, I'm moving my decimal place to the right. And since it's by 100, I move it to the right 2 places. So 62 hundredths becomes what as a percentage? 62%. 1 becomes what? 100%. So anything over 1 is going to be over 100%. So what do you think about 2.3? 230%. All right, well, let me ask you this. What about 0.0032? What is that going to be as a percent?
That would be 0.32%.
That's going to be 0.32%. Okay, so I still move my decimal to the right 2 places, but now my decimal's still in my value, so it's 0.32%. All right, so that's how I would change a decimal to a percent. Now going from a percent to a decimal, remember the other day we talked about a percent is always out of what? It's always out of 100. So if it's over 100, what am I doing? Multiplying or dividing? Now I'm dividing, so which way would my decimal go? To the left. So 75% becomes what? 0.75. What about 0.4%?
Ooh, that would be 0.004.
Okay, 0.004. Even though that looks kind of funny, that is correct because I'm dividing and moving my decimal left. What about 168%?
That would be, okay.
Do you agree? 1 68 hundredths. Okay, because I moved my decimal left, but it's still within the number. And again, remember, anything over 100% is going to have a whole number in the decimal. All right, so that's example 1, just converting back and forth from decimals to percents. Okay, example 2. Now in example 2, it's kind of a 3-step process because now I'm going from a fraction to a decimal to a percent. So I have 3/8, 5/3, and 7/9. If it's a repeating decimal, you can either round to the nearest tenth of a percent or just round to the nearest whole percent. I don't care either way. What I want you to do with these is go ahead and convert these fractions to decimals and then convert the decimal to a percent. All right, so 3/8 as a decimal is what?
0.375.
All right, and what is that as a percentage?
37.5%.
Very good. 37.5%. Now, only round the percentage when it's a repeating decimal. So the only correct answer here is 37.5%. Okay? All right, only round when it's a repeating or non-terminating decimal. So 5/3 is what?
167%.
Okay, so it's 1.6 repeating though, isn't it?
Yeah.
1.6 repeating, so that's going to be 167%. Or you could have said 166.7%, and that would have been fine as well. Okay, now what about 7/9? 0.7 repeating.
Yeah.
So that's going to be what percentage?
78%.
78%, or you could have said 77.7%. Okay, so just round to the nearest whole. All right, so that's example 3. Now in example 4, I'm finding the percent of a number. This is how it's going to look on your quiz and your test. The first thing you have to do is change the percentage to a decimal. So 20% as a decimal is what? 0.2. Now multiply that by the number, and that gives you the percentage of that number.
So this is like
Times 85. Yes, I actually did teach you this in 7.1 because I believe that this is the easiest, most efficient way to solve. So I actually have already taught you this. What's my answer?
17.
17. Go ahead and answer the next three the same way. All right, so 3.8% is what as a decimal?
0.038.
Very good. And when you multiply it, what do you get for your answer?
1.71.
Very good. Now, what about the next one, number 3?
0.125. 125.
Number 3? No, number 3 is 80. Very good. And number 4?
Wait, what?
Number 4 is 3. Number 4 is 3. Who got all 4 of those right? Who got all 4?
3 of them right.
Okay. All right, very good. Now, in the next example, okay, last example, in example 4, it says, in a survey of 1,100 adults, 2% chose cooking as their favorite leisure activity. How many adults chose cooking? All right, well, now basically what I'm doing is I need to find a percent of a number. So what's 2% of 1,100? What do I do?
You divide. No, you
No,
multiply.
I multiply. But I have to change my percent to a
Decimal.
0.02 times 1,100 will tell me how many chose cooking.
220. Yeah. Yeah. 220.
All right, 220?
Wait.
No.
No.
It's gonna be 22.
I put 0.2.
Okay, 20% would have been 220. So the answer would be 22. All right, finding the percent of a number will help you sometimes figure out part of a population and that type of thing. You will see a question like this on your quiz on Tuesday. All right, if you understand that, that's everything you need to know for 7.3.